Hey, aloha fans. This is Jeff Reinbold. This is the 79th edition of Coffee with Coach, and it's a special one because it's our Grey Cup edition. We play the Grey Cup on Sunday here in Canada, the 108th Grey Cup. It is the longest. It is the longest standing championship in pro sports, and really a phenomenal game. It's a phenomenal weekend, and everything in Canada uh, really stops on Sunday. It's a huge day for parties across Canada. Everybody gets together to watch the game. It'll be the single most watched sporting event, one day sporting event in Canada. It is really a big deal. So come on out here, Michael. Let's talk a little ball.
Hi Jeff, how are you? Oh,
I'm good. I'm good, man. How do you think I am? We are in championship mode, buddy. We are. Today is our what we call our day zero. It's where we meet. We met with our players this morning. We went through an introduction to what's going to happen this week to them. You know, as always when you're in these kinds of championships games, there's so much more going on. There's so many more media people around. There's demands on their time. It's craziness. And then on top of that, you got to get ready to play a football game on Sunday. So it's kind of crazy around here. But I did not want to take a break from talking ball with you, my man. What did you watch the game last night in Buffalo?
well, hold on 2 seconds. Stu from Edinburgh says, go Tiger Cats. So you've got a fan there, Jeff. I think there's going to be a big contingent this weekend. Can I just say congratulations, but not just that there, to the special teams master. I seen that at the weekend. We all seen that at the weekend. I think a few teams in the NFL could have done that at the weekend. But yeah, I watched the game last night. I've got this new technique in my old age, Jeff, where I record the game on Sky, wake up at 6 a.m. with my cellular data off, my Wi-Fi off. I have no idea what's going on. Get a cup of tea and watch it. Done that this morning. Wow. I mean, Mac Jones, like it's not even a factor because the run game worked, the defense worked, the Pats get over the line. Are they the long-term answer in the AFC this season? I'm not sure, but 13 weeks in, they're on top, and that's all that matters.
Hey, I'm gonna tell you something. To me, that was a master's class in coaching by Bill Belichick because he had the hottest quarterback in the AFC, and they threw the ball 3 times in the game. And that is proof beyond all things that what matters in New England is winning. And whatever you got to do to win the football game, you do. I wonder how many other offensive coordinators would have been satisfied to throw the ball 3 times in a football game. And hats off to Josh McDaniel, hats off to the Patriots. That offensive line played outstanding. And I think what's happened now is the Bills are now 7-5, and they've got Tampa Bay coming up next. They
Yeah.
are in some, I wouldn't say they're in trouble, but I'm going to tell you something. This game against Tampa Bay is huge for them. They cannot, in my opinion, go to 7-6.
Tampa Bay in Florida, and then they play the Patriots the week after in Foxborough. Patriots have a bye week this week, so that's a massive 2 weeks. Like if you can take away anything last night from a Buffalo fan's point of view, Josh Allen is going to be sitting there today in upstate New York, fuming with himself. I'd say annoyed at himself. This is either going to kick their season into gear or else they're going to go downhill from here. But Jeff, I can't call the AFC at all. I like it's literally a coin flip. Who is going to be the number one seed? Who will be in LA in February? But it's such a great season because we can't call it. And I've really enjoyed it over the last few weeks, even in a neutral standpoint. I mean, like obviously my team get beat on Sunday Night Football, but this isn't the Michael watches his team show. It's the Jeff Reinbold Coffee with Coach show. So it's all good. Tell me this, so right? Like Grey Cup, what time is that on Sunday?
We play at 6 o'clock. It's a 6 o'clock kickoff, so that it can be throughout the country in prime time. And the pregame show starts at 5. So again, if you catch it on the ESPN family of networks, and BT Sport is one of those outlets, you're going to see a tremendous. You can't buy a ticket to this thing right now. It's the ticket prices have doubled. There were about 300 of them left. Now those are gone. The Grey Cup itself was flown into the city today by helicopter from Toronto. It's here. The head coaches are right now over at a press conference to welcome the Grey Cup in. All of the media is in town. The opposing team comes in this afternoon, and it is championship week. It's just like the Super Bowl, just a little smaller version, a little cooler too.
As we say, the last 3 or 4 weeks, where just with the time, and usually you play at a different time. Your schedule's been crazy for us watching it this year, but try and simulcast it. Obviously, watch the NFL on Sky, but it's on BT Sport this weekend as well at 11 o'clock UK Ireland, ESPN2 in the States, because there's people watching from America here as well. You've got a Pro Bowler coming in a couple of minutes, Jeff. You play for the Packers, and he knows Coach Jones. You're gonna say?
Yep.
Coach Jags.
Yep. He would have been. I think he would have been with Jags when they were in Green Bay together. And he's an interesting, really, really interesting guy. And he has a journey now. He's not a typical route to the NFL guy. So I think it'll be a great guy for the fans to get to know. He's a very intelligent guy. Played 11 years in the National Football League, was a Pro Bowler in the National Football League. And like I say, he didn't come into the NFL in a typical fashion. He went to the United States Naval Academy out of high school, and with an idea that he was going to be a naval officer. And again, got drafted in the second round of the supplemental draft, and he had a great career, 11-year career in the NFL. And that's hard to do, play 11 years. So I'm looking forward to talking to the young guy.
Indeed. Packers fans, of course, Panthers fans and Seahawks fans in general, NFL fans, get your questions in because the guest is here, Jeff. So do you want to, I know you've introduced him, but do you want to just move again? I'll bring him in.
Well, Wally, get in here, man. Let's talk a little ball.
There we go. How's it going, Coach? How are we doing?
I'm doing great, man. I tell you what, I want you to start today. And we talked about everybody's got a story, everybody's got a path, everybody's got a football, football history. Right. For you, different route to the National Football League than is normally taken. You choose Navy with the
there's
idea.
A story behind. Oh yeah, there's a story behind that too.
Well, I'm anxious to hear that because. Kenny Niumatalolo is a very good friend of mine, the head coach.
You know Coach Nehemiah? Yeah, he's the man. I love that man.
He is a fantastic guy, and I've known Kenny for a long time. He's from the North Shore in Oahu. I live on the Big Island of Hawaii, and he asked me one time to come and be his guest at the Notre Dame Navy game. All right, now you'll appreciate this. We had played Navy when I was coaching at SMU, and Navy was always typical, scrappy, tough, play every play to the echo of the whistle. I mean, they're going to compete regardless of the score. But I never really, you get a different impression when you see them as midshipmen in their uniforms and all that stuff. So we're riding from Michigan City, where they stayed, and we're riding on the bus to South Bend with the motorcade and all that stuff. But I look around it and I'm seeing these guys, and I'm thinking to myself, God, they look young, and man, they are small. And then, we walk into Notre Dame Stadium, right? And go up into that locker room, kind of back in that tunnel, and everybody's getting ready for the game. So we go out. We're going out to warm up, and then Notre Dame comes out, and I looked at Navy guys. And I looked at the Notre Dame guys, and I looked back at the Navy guys, and I'm going to tell you, I said, I just hope nobody gets killed today. I mean, I swear to God. But you know what? They played Notre Dame off their feet. They had a chance to win the game in the fourth quarter. And I tell you what, you talk about guys that get the most out of their athletes. Those coaches at Navy do an amazing, amazing job.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know what year you were there, but I mean, you could really be describing any year as far as the discrepancy in athletic ability. I think that's one of the best things about being in Navy too. Is as far as college sports go, it's such a pure environment because all those guys know that this is their last stop. Like the next thing they're going to do is go work for their country, and so you don't have any of kind of the like I remember we were playing this kid. I forgot his name. We were playing this kid who's a big time recruit in Temple, and we chopped up so much. By the second quarter, he took his helmet off on the field and quit the game because he didn't want to hurt his draft status, right? And so we were looking around like, this guy's a joke. You know what I mean? Because we were so happy to not be in the building, getting dumped on from the first year guys, the firsties, like the fourth year guys, I should say for everybody else, that practices were full speed every single day, cutting, tackling to the ground, hitting everybody, no plays off, nothing. I mean, it was so intense that I'll be honest with you, when I got to the league, although the talent level was ridiculous, I was looking around like I remember I got to Green Bay. I was like, wait a second, you guys just want me to practice? Like, I don't have to do military stuff. There's no school. You just want me to practice hard every day? Oh, you shouldn't have let me in here. Oh, and you have free food? Like, I'm never leaving. Yeah, it was an amazing experience. I learned so much from. You start with Phil Emery, who was the strength and conditioning coach there at the time, and general manager of the Bears. And I think he might even still work for the Falcons. Think about Todd Spencer, Mean Gene McKinnon. We got Paul Johnson, Coach Nehemiah, and of course Charlie Weatherby, who was, it's funny. Like I don't know, as a head coach, I'm not even sure that he had control of. I was an offensive guy, obviously, but not the control of the offense, the defense. But the way that he was, he was in the truest sense, he was a manager of men. He was a leader of men and a great communicator. And communication, as we know, is so important. And so having that structure and that community of structure at the Naval Academy, and then be able to transfer that onto the students, I think it just really puts you in an environment where you can be successful despite all the challenges that come along with kind of the size advantages and whatnot.
All right, now I have two brothers. One went to the Citadel, which is the military college of South Carolina, and another one went to that other military school up in New York, that West Point. And I'm going to tell you something. The way that those guys talk about their school is much like you talking about, Nate. You can hear how much that place meant to them and means to you, and the experience that you have being an athlete at a place where, Kenny used to tell me that the first thing he did with the freshmen when they came into, you don't call it plebe year. What is it at Navy?
It's plebe year. You're right.
It's plebe year. All right. Yep. Come in for your plebe year, and they would have like a 45-minute slot in their day for athletics, right? So the football players would come to the football office or football facility, and he would put them in a weight room and shut the light out and let them sleep for 45 minutes because they were going like non-stop. Explain to the listeners and the viewers what a day for an athlete at a service academy is going to be like.
Well, specifically, you're talking about, we're in boot camp. So you just imagine anybody who's coming out of high school goes to boot camp. We're in boot camp, for lack of a better term. And I can't remember if it's 7 weeks or 9 weeks, but you're waking up every day at 5 a.m. You're going through PT, you got all these military evolutions you have to do during the day. And at some point during boot camp, maybe 4 or 5 weeks in, they start letting football players, maybe some of the other varsity athletes, they give you like 45 minutes you can go to your team. Now, when I was there, that was like Phil Emery would maybe give you a peanut butter sandwich, but he was going to teach you how to bench press and hang clean and squat and everything. So the idea that they're getting this like 45 minutes of nap time sounds absolutely fantastic, but that's nowhere near what we were doing. I remember that was the day, because you got to remember, you go to boot camp and you might be more physically fit, but from a football standpoint, you are now weak because you're doing nothing. I'm eating one peanut butter sandwich a day because my cadre hates football players. So I've lost 30 pounds in boot camp. I'm down to 205. Phil Emery's trying to teach us how to bench press. He's walking around going, what do you bench? What do you bench? I was like, I bench, 3 plates. He's like, oh, really? Okay. He takes a look at me. He puts 225 on the bench. He goes, all right, go down, pause for 2 and push it back up. 1, 2, straining. About 5 seconds. I'm lifting it. It takes me about 5 seconds. He looks at me. I just see his big face come over the bar going, hey, man, you don't bench 315 anymore. Why don't you get back on the little weights? And that's what we were dealing with every day. But going through a boot camp, which I think, to be honest with you, is something that every American should have to go through just to understand, what service members put themselves through every day, just from a routine development, habit formation standpoint, what it means to be part of our United States military, and what that means for an outreach, maybe as far as an understanding the rest of us can have for kind of how they put themselves in harm's way on our behalf. So It's a wonderful experience. Everybody can get through boot camp. It's just how you decide to get through boot camp that probably matters the most. And it certainly, from, again, like, I have these conversations with, you go into the pros and you're talking to the guys in Green Bay. It's like, oh, what was your college experience like? Oh, that sounds pretty fun. Want me to tell you what I did? It's a little bit different. So
Now, when in your time at Navy did you recognize that you had a chance or you wanted to play in the National Football League, or was that just a dream you had as a kid and put it on hold when you went to the Navy, or how did that all work?
So people don't like hearing this because it probably goes against a lot of the, especially the lifers in the military. But I think I was like third grade. Teacher does that, what do you want to be when you grow up paper? And I just wrote that I was going to be a professional athlete. And I kind of listed out my reasons why and everything. And she gave me the paper back. She's like, I need you to write something more realistic. And I said, I'll just take the bad grade because that's what I'm going to do. So I thought about it. That's all I ever thought I was going to do. Even when I wasn't highly recruited. I mean, my mom filled out the information for the Naval Academy. I didn't even try to get in. Like, I didn't even know she had applied for it. And then I realized, like, oh, wow, USC's not calling? Huh. Florida doesn't want me either. It's like, I guess I'm really not that, I'm at a Division VIII school in the mountains of San Bernardino. I don't have a lot of tape. I was a really bad quarterback for 3 years, played tight end for, half a season. And then I was playing well. My quarterback broke his arms, had no stats. So I was so lucky to go there. But my focus really never changed, right? Like, I didn't know how it was going to work out. I just knew that I was going to go play pro ball. And I know that sounds naive, and it was, but I was 17, 18, 19 years old, and I was going to go play pro ball, and that was going to be that.
All right. Now, a guy at an academy school, a military college, has got a number of challenges that the typical college athlete doesn't have. One of them is, and this is caused, there's been a lot of guys that would have had better NFL opportunities had the rule that, and it goes back and forth, where you have to serve, which is basically paying back for your education, right? And like Roger Staubach went out of Navy and then went into the Navy, then came back after it is, I think, 2 years. And Phil McConkey did the same thing, the receiver that played for the Jets. I mean, for the Giants. What was yours experience like? Were you able to petition to get drafted?
No. So when I was there, the West Point and the Air Force Academy were letting guys go and play, and they would basically give them like a reserve job or like a recruiting job at the local base.
Job. Right.
They give them a recruiting job. So they were still active. They were doing a recruiting job. They go pick up their check and they'd have to, get in the uniform once a day, usually on Tuesdays. And then the rest of the time they were football players. Navy was saying absolutely not, 5-year minimum service. I left the Naval Academy after my junior year. I got drafted after my junior year. So I just had to write a relatively substantial check to the United States government as my scholarship. And I was allowed to walk. So I never fulfilled the military requirements because I never graduated from Navy. And unfortunately, once you leave, you can never go back. So.
Okay, now now we're getting into a really fascinating thing, because that's very much like a number of kids now who come out early, right? Because, there's a process that you can go through with the NFL where they basically give you a feel for where you're going to be drafted or where you should be drafted. But that's not an exact science. And there are a number of kids that never get drafted that come out early. Like, that's a really difficult thing to turn your back on, that finishing up and having that, graduating from a place like the Naval Academy, having that, great job waiting for you, but yet you still said, I'm going to do this. I'm going to make this NFL dream come true.
Yeah, one of the biggest regrets of my life is not being able to graduate from the academy. There's no question about it. I think that it just, I have so many friends and people that I respect that went through that process, stayed the entire 4 years, had a great, a service career in the United States military, whether it was Marine Corps or the Navy. And, I have so much respect for the people that go through that process. But for me, my path was different. I certainly have no complaints about how things worked out. And I was just very lucky that Ron Wolf was from the Annapolis area and happened to like military guys. And Steve Belichick happened to be in the building and called Bill, and Bill called Neil, and Neil called me. And it just happened to work out that I got into a great club in a position where I kind of had a chance to develop. Because when I came in being an option guy, man, I was raw.
Yeah. I can't imagine how much that transition. I mean, just the to be able to play on 2 feet, to pass block, to do all of that kind of stuff.
First time for everything, man. Might as well be the first day.
Now, you were drafted in the second round of supplemental draft.
That's right.
Okay. Why were you not allowed into the regular draft? Did you declare
Timing.
after the draft?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. All right. Now I get it. All right. So now you go to the Packers, right? And again, how much prep time were you able to put into learning to be a pass blocker, learning all of the nuances of playing, football at the National Football League level, schematically, the intensity, the size, the strength of the athletes, all of it?
Zero. Honestly, I mean, I was.
You went. Wait a second. You went to training camp and just. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Who was your line coach?
Tom Lovat.
Okay. I gotta tell he must have some patience, because that is a tough transition, dude.
Well, I'll tell you the truth, and it's a funny story. So my agent Neil Cornish decides that we get drafted, and he wants me to hold out because he wants a 3-year deal, not a 4-year deal. You got to remember, I thought I was going to go play for the Edmonton Eskimos. Charlie Weatherby had got me, hey, do you want to go play for the Edmonton Eskimos? Because I didn't know what I was, I wasn't sure. I just wasn't sure about anything. I was a naive kid.
Right.
So I have this contract still hanging in my office about this. I had a 2-year contract for the Edmonton Eskimos for 48,000 Canadian plus a guaranteed bar job in the off season. And 1998, and so I got drafted, and we're waiting, and so for those who don't know, if you're in the supplemental draft, like, you're not going to mini camps. So my first time putting on a Packers helmet was like week 3 of the preseason in training camp, because we held out for this year deal, year off the contract. So Mike Hogan comes up to me and he's like, hey, come here. I'm so happy to be there. Picture me at about, 25 years younger and, 300 pounds. It's just a big smile on my face. And he said, hey, did you get everything you wanted? And before I could get the words out of my mouth, he just started dog cussing me for holding out on him. Pissed off at my agent. And he just said, look, don't even think about it. You're not playing this year. I'll see you next year. And I went, oh God. Right. And then we went to practice, and I just took like 9 or 10 successive pass rush reps, 1v1s. Gilbert, Santana, Reggie White, Vonnie Holiday, Von Booker, Billy Line. Everyone's just killing me. Like, Gilbert's throwing me over the bag. I got clubbed. Santana got me with his double swipe chop. I was just awful, right? Like, barely in the right stance and everything. And I remember it was either that day or the next day, Tom Lovat came up and he's like, hey man, coach's orders. Sorry, I have to deal with the players that are going to play this year. So I was really lucky to have like Jeff Dellenbach, who was, a Miami Dolphin great for years, but it was up there as a backup center at the time. Frank Winters would throw me some, nuggets of goodness as far as what to do, what not to do. And just, man, I was, like I said before, though, it's, you go out there and you're used to practicing as hard as we practice at the Naval Academy. Like, NFL practices, while I might not be doing well, and football is one of those games where if you got a little bit of, shit to you, and you're willing to learn, and you can just put out a lot, like, you can catch up to people real fast, because not a lot of people are walking down the street learning how to pass block, learn how to run block, learn how to tackle. So if you want to learn it, you can learn it pretty quick. Well,
now I got to ask you this one. Reggie, right? Did he ever get you with the hump move?
Okay, so it's like 9-10 weeks into the season, right? And when I go out and I'm playing scout team, I'm out there like punching people. Like, it's almost like, it probably looks like a drunken fight, because I have no technique. I don't know what I'm doing. And Santana Dotson is getting so mad at me, and Gilbert's getting so, not that I can block him, but I'm just like a gnat, just like obnoxious, right? And who knows where my hands are going? I could be hitting him in the face, and so I remember Matt Willig's playing right tackle on scout team. He goes, hey man, come switch with me for a second. And I was like, oh yeah, it's Reggie. Okay, I'm gonna give him everything I got. So I take my 2 kicks, and I just put my heart and soul into punching him, and he just bull rushes me past the quarterback. I mean, like, it's like I'm not even there. So I'm like, all right. So next one, we're doing 3rd down, right? So the next one's pass pro again. I go, okay, I'm really gonna step into this one, and that's when he decided to club me. And I did a full, it's on tape somewhere. I did a full like rotation in the air and landed on my back. and the whole practice stopped. Because I was, of course, like, I'm the only one who doesn't know what's going on, right? I've been set up. And so the whole practice stops. And I just remember Mike Holm, everyone's laughing at me. Hi. You know, Mike Holm just looks over and he goes, "Get up, man. He's clubbed a lot better than you. Practice, let's go." I was like, welcome to the NFL. All right.
Hey, now that Packer team, Holmgren was there. John Gruden was there.
Andy Reid.
Andy Reid was there.
Jags.
Jags was there.
Jags is one of your guys, right?
Yeah, Jags a buddy of mine. And I'm trying to think who was the
Mike
guy.
Sherman was there.
Yeah, and who was the defensive coordinator that left and went to the Eagles and took Gruden as his offensive coordinator? I can't remember the guy.
And then he went to the Lions, right? He was the Lions head coach.
Yep.
Yeah, his name's escaping me, but yeah.
Man, what a great coaching staff.
Fritz Shurmur, yeah. We had a great. Listen, I'm coming into the NFL not knowing a lot about the NFL, so you just don't at the time, and obviously not like John Gruden wasn't John Gruden back then, and Andy Reid wasn't Andy Reid, but you're just around these teachers, and I think as my time in the NFL and then just being out of football and kind of being around other things, that what you come to appreciate about Mike Holmgren and his staff, Mike Sherman, they're teachers first. And there's not as many teachers in football as there used to be. There's not as many, there's a lot of coaches, there's not as many teachers. There's not people who are really, really good at communicating concepts, at communicating the details of technical mastery. And I just really appreciate that. Like, I remember during a Friday red zone meeting, he called up Frank Winters, our starting center. He's like, "You're installing today." And Frank knocked it out of the park because he knew all the route. I mean, Frank's a smart guy, right? And he's the center, but he knocked it out of the park because he conceptually knew every single thing that every player was supposed to be doing. And having that level of mastery as the center, I mean, I can't think of another team where I could go to and that would be possible, right? They just had a great group of teachers.
Well, I'm going to tell you something that is really so true. And it's interesting that a lot of, and this is, again, maybe I'm saying it because I'm an old guy now, but some of those older coaches that could come in and really, really understood and could, they had lost that amount of ego that young coaches have, that desire to climb the ladder, all of that stuff. And you watch a guy, Coach Moore down at Tampa Bay. I mean, it's incredible. He can coach football. And, those guys are really, to have an opportunity to be around guys like that is really a special thing for you. Now, you played for 3 different teams. How many head coaches?
1, 2, 3, 4. Well, so I had Mike twice. I had his last year in Green Bay and his last year in Seattle. And then we had Ray Rhodes for 1 year. We had Mike Sherman, and then I had John Fox in Carolina. So what's that? 4.
Okay. What are the commonalities between those 4 guys, and what were the differences in those 4 guys?
Well, I think the commonalities is that they were all they're all grinders. They all had cots in their offices for sure, which I think is probably standard fare at this point. They were actually a lot different personality wise. So Mike, by the time I was there, Mike had already won Super Bowls, and he was Mike Holmgren, and they were battling at that time that coach GM position that as of yet in the league. And so there was a little bit of that going around as far as kind of how the building felt. And again, like I told you before, I was kind of out of the loop really that rookie year. With Ray Rhodes, Ray was the kind of guy that he would literally he'd pull me out of meetings to play dominoes. And I say that I think he was doing it because he knew that I was playing at the time, but didn't have a great relationship with Larry Bechtel, the line coach. I think he was kind of getting me out of class. So, we could kind of keep it on the level. But he was that kind of guy. He did that with a lot of players. He was I think people would call him a player's coach in the sense that he made you always feel really comfortable around him. Now, whether that translates to, do we have enough discipline to be successful? The tenure was short, so it was tough. Mike Sherman was like talking to a trial lawyer. Now, he's an offensive line coach by trade, So he was Mike Flanagan's line coach, our center's line coach. So we kind of always knew we were going to be put in a position to be successful. But when you talk to him, it's like you really had to watch what you're saying. It was like he was really like a trial lawyer. It was amazing to be around that guy. You just had to be sharp all the time. John Fox, the defensive-minded guy, first defensive-minded guy I'd ever been around as a head coach. I know Ray Rhodes was, but he didn't really bring that attitude. Like we already had a top 3 offense in Green Bay all the time. So I was used to a top 3 offense. So I think the struggle for me, at least when I went to Carolina, amongst other things, was it was like if you guys score 17 points, we're going to win the game. And it's like, well, man, I didn't come here to like strive for average. No one's trying to score 17 points. We're trying to score 27 points. We want to score 27 points a game, not 17. You wouldn't want to draws on every 3rd and 8. And so that I think that part was, that was tough for me. But from an energy standpoint and a defensive mindset, I think John was next level. And then of course having Mike again that last year in Seattle, I think again he's just such a great teacher and just kind of a guy when he walks in the room, every kind of all eyes on him. He's got that presence.
Tell me about your Pro Bowl year. That one shining year that really excelled.
So I'll be honest with you. I think my 3 years prior to that, I was better than, if not, at least as good, if not better than. I think it's just a matter of how the Pro Bowl goes sometimes. Green Bay Packers fans voted me into the Pro Bowl. They were just a couple years late. I think I had to leave town to make sure to have them know that I might have been worthy beforehand, which is kind of what one of the reasons I probably decided to leave Green Bay and go to Carolina in the first place. But it's that having that recognition is always great. It certainly feels good to be recognized for the work you put in. I think more importantly that year for me, we got to the NFC Championship. Team success, and to your point about old coaches, new coaches, team success fuels everything we do, and I think a lot of on many levels because of branding. I'm talking about players now. I'm talking about coaches. I mean, how many offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator names were you made publicly aware of 20 years ago versus now? I mean, it's just a whole different level of brand recognition, right? Whereas back in the day, it was very simple. You win games, you get fans, you get votes, you get sponsorship deals, you get more money. I mean, it all comes with like winning was the thing, the only thing. Now it's just not. It's still the thing. It's just not the only thing. So being in that situation, be able to go to the NFC Championship, despite being on some amazing teams in Green Bay and just falling short, like it was a great feeling, great experience.
It's amazing. Mike, you talk about that, and it really has changed. People say, are players different today? I don't know if I buy into that. I think players are come up different today, certainly than they used to. And I think that the players have access to information and things that players in the past never had. The whole idea of, promoting the personal brand above the team, that can cause, not only challenges in the locker room, it affects your ability to win football games. I truly believe that.
No question. No question.
And I think about a guy like OBJ who, you get a great player, but you also get a ton of other stuff that comes with it. And, I think that's one of the byproducts of this, brand development that's going on at the player level so much today.
We could go down this wormhole forever, Coach, because I totally agree with you. And, if you think about it just from the start, access to information is phenomenal, but there's also so many experts now that aren't experts. So you have access to a lot of bad information. The other thing that access to information does is people aren't as curious as they used to be. And what I mean by curious is if I can type in anything and find the answer I want, for me to become a master at something, a lot of people don't understand that process anymore. So when you say that when the players aren't different, no, they're not different. They were raised different. And so they don't, the problem is when you're told what to do all the time, the information is so accessible. Then when real times of the need of resiliency, when tough times come up, a lot of kids these days don't know how to handle themselves. Yeah. I see a lot of people in the NFL struggle. Athletes that are talented that want it, they just don't have the tool set to be successful. Now they weren't taught it, or they haven't been curious enough to go find it. You have a lot of athletes like the one you mentioned. People following around with cameras every day. They think it's a reality show as well because they're trying to build that brand. And look, we perpetuate it in the NFL. I mean, you go on right now, you got to vote on Twitter to make the Pro Bowl. So it's like we feed that vicious cycle, and it's always fun. I think as coaches, as former players, it's fun to watch the guys that you just watch and go, man, it means something to this guy. Like you can tell he's doing it the right way. I love watching especially some of the linemen now, because the discrepancy between like good and are really good and the rest of the heap, I think that gulf's pretty wide to me now.
Yeah, it's amazing. We got some questions from viewers that I want to get some input from you. This is from Fred Flunk, who is in Belfast, and he says, "Hi, Mike. The best coach you ever played for, and why?"
Well, for me, the best coach I ever had aside from my dad was Phil Emery, the strength and conditioning coach at Navy. And the reason that I would say that, and I don't know if you're probably not asking about him, but I want to give him the respect he's due. He taught me the process matters, and he taught me the details matter. He taught me that when you look at the body of work you're trying to put together, it's a series of tiny processes, tiny movement patterns, decision making, all of that stuff. The resiliency, the body armor, everything that you build up, all the lessons you learn in the weight room, you can transfer to the field of play, especially in a sport like football. Head coach wise, Mike Sherman, like I said, he was like talking to a trial lawyer, but with Mike Sherman, I always knew we were going to be put in a position to be successful. A lot of that has to do with the fact that he was an offensive line coach by trade. But I just thought he was extremely intelligent, except for that 1 4th and 1 call in the Philly game in the playoffs. Like, he always served us right.
Hey, now here's another one from the UK Packers, which is a huge Packer fan group in the UK. It says, "Mike, you look like you're in top shape. We see most offensive and defensive linemen shed pounds after their career. What was that transition like for you after you retired?"
So I blew up my shoulder twice. That's why I had to stop playing. And so it's actually really hard for me to put weight on as much as I'd want. I'd love to be walking around bigger, benching 500 pounds still. Like, I would love that, but I can't. And I think most offensive linemen, like, let's say everybody starts about 300 pounds when they retire. I've got friends that drop 50, and I got friends that went the other way. And, it's a flip of the coin. It's just how much you want to eat. But when you weigh 300 pounds, when you weigh 315 pounds, and you're sweating walking upstairs and nobody's paying you for it anymore, yeah, it's time to lose some weight. Get on that jump rope.
Sebastian Valmer, who played with the Patriots for I think 6 or 8 years and has won a couple Super Bowls, great guy. And Sebastian was one of the first players we had in the International Player Development Program, and went on to Houston, was drafted by the Patriots in I think the 3rd round. And you look at him today, and he looks like a small tight end. I mean, but he feels he's almost a verbatim quote. He feels liberated from the body that he had to carry around to play effectively in the National Football League at 330 pounds.
Coach, 7,000 calories a day. And I had a dietitian. I really worked at it, and I love working out. The preparation for me was all of it. That's the only thing that I thought I could get an advantage on was my preparation. So I spent a lot of time on it, but I was eating 2 pounds of meat every meal. Like, nobody really wants to do that. You know what I mean? Nobody really wants to do that. When my wife's water broke on our first kid, and I'm supposed to grab the suitcase as we're leaving the house to go to the hospital, I had my plate of ground beef and peppers in my hand with a fork. I'm driving with my niece. She goes, "Where's my suitcase?" I said, "Well, I got the food." So it just becomes part of who you are.
Hey, listen, Michael, come on out here. Let's talk to Mike. Big Magic Mike, our engineer, and
Hey,
works with me on the broadcast. Hey, you know him from being on the Irish NFL show. Michael, we got some good questions for the big guy today, huh?
Yeah, we've actually got one more before we go off and talk here. Last one, Graham in Southampton. What was it like playing with Brett Favre? There's also loads of comments, Jeff, for you Albert Sunday, wishing you luck. So it should be good fun.
Yeah, so Brett's generational talent. Obviously, I think I always try to explain to people what being around a guy like that who has the confidence that he does and deserved confidence, not only from his athletic ability but from the way he prepares. Like, he was PhD smart at running the West Coast offense. And what Brett and that whole locker room, really, with Reggie, Leroy Butler, all those guys really did for you, Frank Winters, Mark Shimura, Antonio Freeman, Dorsey, I could go on, is, when you're a young kid and you're watching like the program or you're watching all these football movies and you think you got to manufacture emotion, especially in football, because there's this, ultimately the baseline is you're probably afraid you're going to get hurt, you're going to get embarrassed, but you have to manufacture this emotion you think you do in order to kind of get up to play football. And the truth is, and one thing that Brett shows you is that if you prepare and you're good It's like we specialized in working hard and kicking ass, man. And we love doing both, and we love doing both as a team. And when you've got that feeling inside you, like, you don't have to go out and manufacture that emotion. You can go out and have a good time doing the best you can with the people you love to work with. And that was such a valuable lesson. And we talk about now, like, sympathetic versus parasympathetic state. We talk about these different brain functions, whatnot. But back in the day, it was really that simple, man. Like, get to the point where you're confident enough in your preparation. You go out and just have a great time being good.
That is the ultimate freedom as an athlete, when you know that you're prepared. And it's just the hardest part is the wait to go perform. And that I think is a real important thing that young players really need to grasp, that, your performance is so related to your preparation. And a lot, Mike, I tell you, a lot of young kids, and every year we see them come from, big time college programs. Guys come to us out of the National Football League, and they don't have a clue about what it means to prepare to win at the professional level. It's amazing.
I work, my company's Process to Perform, and I run a total athlete development platform, and it's all based on this one idea, that confidence in your preparation is the only thing that no one will ever be able to take away from you. Because you're going to find bigger, faster, stronger athletes. You're going to find better resources from other teams. But if every individual on your team is playing with the confidence that they know they put themselves in the best position to be successful, man, you've got something there, right? That's really why you think about it as a coach. All your late nights, all your film sessions, all your meetings, all your intense practice sessions. What are you really trying to do? You're trying to give them the confidence that they can go out and be successful, right? That's what we're all trying to accomplish. And for me, it's like, once you boil it down to that reality, the game becomes pretty simple.
That's exactly right, man. I tell you what, it's been a blast having you on the show today. We're going to get you back, man. I want to really get into some deeper topics along that whole thing, because I think that's the cutting edge, right? The game is, no matter how much we try and say the game's different, the game's still the same game. It's the thing that it's the preparation, it's the athlete development, mental and physical development. All of those things are fascinating things. And I think they make a great show one time just to get into that, dig really deep into that.
Yeah, I'd love to. Absolutely.
Awesome. Been a pleasure having you with us, big man. And again, thank you for joining the show.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you, Michael. And Jeff, thank you. I think we're going to end the show here. I just want to say one thing very quickly. Thanks for everyone's comments. Obviously, Jeff, good luck on Sunday. Yeah, I've made this especially for you. So good luck on Sunday. The game is at 11 o'clock our time, UK, Ireland. 6 p.m. Eastern, BT Sport, etc. Jeff, you're going to bring it home, and we're going to do a live show next Monday, yeah?
All right, baby. Let's go. I like the sounds of it. See you.